more explosive.
I'd say the goal here is to try to dodge Force of Will, but you're actually not terrible against Force of Will. He has Thought Seize and Unmask, and he doesn't have to go off on turn 1 like a Belcher or some of the other Oops All Spells decks. He can actually play a little bit of Magic and then try to get a Gristlebrand or a Jin-Gitaxias. He also has a Sire of Insanity and Iona Shield of Emeria to search for or put into play. So this is a deck that, again, he has put some articles together about. And he's sitting here at 5-1 playing against Avery Williams, who's playing Bug Delver.
Yeah, Anthony Lowry, one of the kind of up-and-coming writers that I enjoy quite a bit. And what's really nice about his deck, too, is that the addition of Gamble to this list, because he can either get a reanimation target or he can get an Unburial Rights and not really care if those cards get discarded. In fact, probably be happy that those cards get discarded.
Now, the fun thing here is, does the opponent know what they're up against here? And Williams, he's going to begin with a Polluted Delta, sacrifice that. Both players are going to jump off here to 19. You also see here, round 7 of 10. Yes, 10. Normally our Legacy Opens are only 9 rounds, but 10 today. We went over 410 players, so we will do 10 rounds. We've got 4 rounds of Swiss, and then our elimination rounds to bring you.
And I would be surprised if Avery knew exactly the menace he was up against right now. Anthony Lowry, if you had to peg him on a deck based on the start, would probably be Jund, and he is anything but.
Williams going to get a Tropical Island out of his deck. See if it's going to be time for manipulation or perhaps a Delver of Secrets.
And Avery's list, not a lot too spectacular going on here. A couple main deck Dark Confidants, main deck Sylvan Library, but all the stock stuff.
Yeah, run-of-the-mill Bug Delver deck. We see this all the time. It wins quite a bit. As Lowry does draw a Dark Ritual for the turn. Wonder if he's able to go off on this turn.
I imagine that if Anthony had a reasonable hand, this Dark Ritual has to allow all sorts of openings.
Lowry, I believe, has an Unmask in his hand as well. It looks like he's going to start by playing a Marsh Flats. He's going to go reaching for what looks to be the Unmask. This is the way to force through a Force of Will. Unmask is going to happen here. It's going to remove Dark Ritual. You see Lowry's going to take, Williams is going to take a look. We'll do the exact same here with Unmask. It's a card that doesn't see a lot of play, actually, but it's a pretty good one.
It's one of the more powerful cards that sees very fringe play. You see it in some styles of, Manaless Dredge, occasionally in Storm sideboards. It's basically an alternate casting cost coercion.
This was really popular back in the day.
Yes, because you could make up the card disadvantage with the card Yawgmoth's Will, which they allowed you to play 4 copies of in Standard.
For what reason? Who knows?
Who knows?
Unmask is going to see a hand of Wasteland along with a Misty Rainforest, a Force of Will, which is going to predictably go to the graveyard. Another Delver and a Daze. So now Lowry, the only permission he needs to worry about is that Daze.
It looks like Lowry has Lion's Eye Diamond and Unburial Rights in hand. Not clear if he has some large monster to reanimate, but he has the rest of the pieces, and Williams doesn't really have any defenses at this point.
So Lowry's going to write down these cards, make sure he knows exactly what's going on. Can Lowry beat the Daze? That is the big question. And he is just going to pass the turn back right now over to Williams, who is going to check and miss with the Delver. Draws a copy of Deathrite Shaman.
Now, I'm sure that Avery would have liked to flip that Delver, but drawing Deathrite Shaman, very good against Lowry's deck.
Williams maybe considering firing off a Wasteland at that Badlands. That's the land he's going to play. We'll see if he has any interest in playing a Tarmogoyf here. And it will be a Deathrite Shaman. So I wonder if he knows what he's up against.
I'm sure he senses that it's some sort of, Dark Ritual and Unmask means that someone's trying to combo out on you.
Yeah, you're not sure how, but it's certainly not in a fair way.
He's not trying to cast Juzam Dijin over there, something unfair is happening.
Lowry going to sacrifice this Marsh Flats right now. Going to go down to 18. Go searching on land. Again, the only card he really needs to worry about at this point is Daze, even though he is under a bit of stress to want to actually put a creature into play now that Deathrite Shaman showed up to the party.
Now, if Avery doesn't really identify exactly what's going on here, he may be using the Deathrite Shaman for mana. And if Lowry finds a reanimation target, he could steal the game. But if Avery senses that something is going on reanimation style, or even if he's just generally conservative, then Lowry may not be able to reanimate as easily as he would like.
Badlands the draw. And that will just go into play. Williams will draw a card for the turn. It is not going to flip for Delver. Just a fetch land. So Misty Rainforest will come in. This is an attack here for 1. I'm going to put Lowry down to 16. Now Williams is going to simply play another Delver of Secrets. Will he leave up Deathrite? He will. Well, Lowry will take a draw. This is a copy of Verdant Catacombs, and just going to pass the turn back. I think the issue here is they need to be able to put 2 creatures in the graveyard now.
Correct. Or hope that Williams doesn't quite understand what's happening in the matchup and uses the Deathrite Shaman for something else. But under this amount of pressure against active Deathrite, I believe Lowry will struggle to win, assuming Avery just leaves up green mana and Deathrite Shaman.
Seems like it would be difficult. Misty going to go get an Underground Sea, a little shuffle along with the presentation, and we'll see if there will be an activation of Deathrite Shaman here on the end step. I imagine there will be removing an instant.
Yeah. Knocks him to 14, the Delvers flip, then you're looking at 8. Another Deathrite Shaman activation, another attack, and that's the game.
Yeah, it'll only take a couple of turns. These Delvers have not flipped so far, but I imagine they're on their way to doing so. They don't take long.
It's hard for this deck to miss for very long. Although I guess this deck, unlike most Delver decks, is over half non-spells.
Well, it is flipping now. Brainstorm has arrived. So 2 Delvers flipping into 2 Insectile Aberrations. It's time to get the beatdowns on here for Avery Williams, and Brainstorm may have been the best card he could find there.
Yeah, and the tough thing here is it gives Avery an excuse to do something other than tap out for Tarmogoyf, which is what Lowry really needs to be able to catch back up.
There's your attack for 6. Lowry going to go down to 8. Williams going to play a Misty Rainforest. You see the hand, Brainstorm, Daze, and Tarmogoyf. Will he commit anything else to the board? I'm not entirely sure he needs to. Brainstorm will get him look at potentially more permission. You add in Deathrite Shaman, and the activation. We're looking at a 2-turn clock here. Lowry going to go down to 7, search out a land.
Yeah, pointing down at that Verdant Catacombs, confirming that Avery is not stifling it.
Yeah, no stifles here. Bug Delver oftentimes without stifle. Preferring Abrupt Decay and some discard spells in Thoughtseize and Hymn to Torak. Lowry going to take a draw here. It's a Lotus Petal, and he's going to concede the game, not able to get his engine online. So Avery Williams is going to win game number 1 here over Anthony Lowry. Bug Delver up a game over Burning Reanimator, as we do turn our attention to the sideboards here. A pretty interesting one here from Anthony Lowry. Now, again, his deck has 4 copies of Burning Wish, so you're going to find some one-offs here, like a Meltdown, a Massacre. There's a Reanimate and Unmask, a Stitch Together, a Tendrils of Agony, a Cabal Therapy, and Empty the Warrens, along with 2 copies of Sneak Attack, 3 copies of Stronghold Gambit, and an Elishnorn.
So Stronghold Gambit, I believe, is the working man's show and tell,
yes,
correct?
It is. Yes, it is.
A rare from Nemesis.
You're doing well so far.
And both players get to put a creature into play. Biggest one stays. And if there's a tie, both players keep their creature? Let's go to the tape.
I think you did good. I think you did good. So, of course, some nice text here.
Each player chooses a card in his or her hand, then each player reveals his or her chosen card. The owner of the creature card revealed this way with the lowest converted mana cost puts that card into play. If 2 or more creatures. Oh, okay, so you can bring this in against creatureless decks.
Boom.
Because then it's just a show and tell for 2 mana.
You found it.
So not coming in this matchup.
Accurate.
All right.
I think that Elishnorn will be. I don't think that any of these Burning Wish targets will come in. And I actually think the 2 sneak attacks are actually pretty good here.
You know, the design goal of let's make a card that's good at cheating in a low-cost creature into play is kind of bizarre.
A little bit.
It's just an odd design, you know?
Yeah, but it's a unique design. I like it.
It is unique.
I don't know. There's always,
it is certainly unique.
There's always these goofy red cards like that never really see any play, and you read them. Always those red cards never see any play and have infinite text.
Yeah, they're all in the Warp World school of crazy things are happening.
The Goblin Game confusion of the ranks.
Correct.
Yeah. Either way, I expect sneak attacks times 2, Elishnorn, maybe the Ashen Rider, maybe not, those to come in.
Yeah, I like the sneak attacks here. Once you've seen Deathrite Shaman, trying to win through your graveyard is challenging. I'm sure Anthony will still keep most of his Reanimation Shell intact, but he does want some backup plans.
On Williams' side, a much more traditional sideboard, I assume.
2 Disfigure, 4 Thoughtseize, 2 Vendilion Click, a Liliana the Veil, 2 Nile Spellbombs, a Hymn, a Submerge, and 2 Golgari Charms. Anthony's deck had all the looks of something that was trying to use its graveyard to affect. So I expect the Nile Spellbombs to come in. And then the anti-combo cards, basically, the 4 Thoughtseizes and 2 Vendilion Clicks. Avery may not know exactly what he's up against, but he probably has a sense it's someone trying to cheat something into play.
It seems like a tough matchup for Lowry.
Yeah, it doesn't seem good. His draw there, in fairness, he has a lot of draws, too, just in the game on the spot from the position he was in. If he has any of his large creatures, he can Lion's Eye Diamond, Burial Rights it into play, and almost any of his creatures are good enough to win the game. Maybe Sire of Insanity would not have been good enough, but...
Well, if you are just joining us, my friend Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, along with Matthias Hunt, bringing you coverage all weekend long here from the Open Series featuring our Season 2 Invitational. A champion has been crowned, and that means a ticket has been punched to our Players' Championship. Tom the Boss Ross is headed there along with Brian Braun-Duin, Chris Van Meter, and Derek Sheets. We've got 416 now. A
well-deserved and one of the more memorable wins that I can remember in the Invitational. You know, they're all sweet and they all have their stories, but the combination of him playing his mono-red 17th land deck, his performance with, in fact, the matches we had on camera, him dominating the elimination rounds. His match against Sam Party really stood out to me as, you know, it's a tough matchup for Tom, and Sam is a very good player, and I believe Tom played an exceptional match there. That's one that's worth going back and looking in the archives. Just a great run, one of the Magic community's most distinct players and deck builders, and I'm glad he's going to be in the Players' Championship.
Yeah, it's going to be one heck of a tournament. We got 12 more tickets to punch, and some players certainly on their way right now. Kent Ketter among them.
Yeah, another 9th place, his second consecutive 9th place finish in the Invitational. I'm sure he would prefer to top 8, but for his goal of reaching the Players' Championship, he's building up quite the sizable 2014 resume.
Yeah, and that's the ultimate goal, is to get to that tournament, and then you just do battle and you see what happens. Avery Williams here does win game number 1 with Bug Delver over Anthony Lowry playing Burning Reanimator. Again, you wonder if Williams knows what Lowry is up to with this very innovative take on Reanimator. Lowry didn't do very much in that first game. Kind of got stunted by a daze, didn't have the necessary mana, and then Deathrite Shaman shown up, to make things difficult.
I don't think Anthony ever had the tools to do anything. Yeah. The Deathrite made it a lock that nothing was going to happen, but...
And that card's the bane of Reanimator's existence, the versatility. Be able to stop them from putting a creature into play, while also being able to clock them out of the game. Makes it one heck of a card. Lowry going to keep his opener. And that is a Badlands. See his hand, there's an Entomb, there's a Dark Ritual. Looks like there might be an Unmask, and we're going to start with a Dark Ritual. So maybe we're putting the pedal to the metal here.
Uh-oh.
There's a Lion's Eye Diamond.
Uh-oh.
This is an Entomb with 2 black floating.
So if he has either a large creature or Unburial Rights, he's good to go.
Yeah. All right. Sire of Insanity is what he'll search out.
This is a much better opening than what we saw last game.
Yeah, frankly, the last game was embarrassing. Who are we kidding? I'm going to discard these, flashback on Burial Rights, targeting Sire of Insanity. Do you have a Force of Will? I can see Avery's hand. The answer is no.
Oh, do you have a Thoughtseize and a Deathrite Shaman? Sorry.
I will trigger this. Your hand is in the graveyard. It's your turn.
If I was Anthony, I would grab his graveyard real quick before he concedes.
Give it a good look.
Yeah, you don't know what's going on over there. Might as well be certain.
Oh, take a draw.
Avery really gamely fighting on here in face of the Sire and no hand.
Too proud. Simian Spirit Guide, sure, to the bin we go. This is what we like to call the hardest of locks.
Yeah. This is now you can kind of see the power of this deck.
Tarmogoyf to the graveyard. Sire of Insanity into the red zone again. Williams is going to go down to 8. Lowry is going to discard Thoughtseize. This is horribly entertaining.
And Avery right back in it with that Polluted Delta.
Yeah, turning everything around, down to 2, a virtual 1. Lowry will discard and Burial Rights again. A big draw here. And he's going to he's going to sacrifice this. What if he just showed up with, like, I don't know, Vapor Snag?
Vapor Snag wouldn't be bad here. A couple turns ago, maybe a land and a Disfig.
Vapor Snag would be awesome.
Be delightful.
Perhaps. What's the jankiest way to get Curfew?
Innocent Blood.
Oof.
Well, that's a real card. There are definitely some jankier ones.
The mighty Delver of Secrets. Sire of Insanity is going to eat that. Lowry will discard Sneak Attack. And Avery Williams will concede. A turn 1 Sire of Insanity is going to take it down. And we're going to head to a third game. Anthony with a bit of a smile at the camera.
So I was wondering, I was looking through this list here, not that familiar with it myself, obviously. Saw the one Sire of Insanity and thought, that feels like a really narrow reanimate target. The game has to be in a really specific place. And then after that, it's like, oh, it's happening on turn 1. That's way less narrow than I thought it would be. If you're assuming you're getting any creature into play on the first turn, Sire of Insanity is a fine choice.
It is a sheer delight. and able to take it down that game. And we'll be playing a third one here, I think, for Avery Williams. It's time to maybe mulligan to a Force of Will. Perhaps. I mean, I imagine that his hand was good. It just didn't have Force, so Lowry got to play the role of like a Belcher deck that game.
It looked like he had Thoughtseize and Deathrite in the hand. I mean, you know, based on what you saw in the first game, it seemed like that would be good enough, but now the writing is on the wall that you need. You are playing against Charbelcher that uses this graveyard, so
also
fine interaction on the first turn.
Again, it also doesn't have to go off on turn 1. Like, he can actually play a game because of Unmasking Thoughtseize. And I mean, the goal isn't to play very long, obviously, but he can play a couple of turns.
And you saw Anthony did bring in the sneak attacks there, so he's not quite as all in on his graveyard as we saw in the first game.
Either way, an absolute joy to watch that game.
That was a delight.
We'll be heading to game number 3 here. Again, we've got a lot of Legacy action to bring for you guys. Round 7 of 10, a rather large one for our first Legacy Open of season number 3. Season 3 already here. Feels like season 1 was just here when Owen Turnwald won the first Standard Open with Mono Black. Kenan Haas with his Jund Depths deck in Legacy, but time is flying by.
Yeah, and Owen nearly won the first Open of season 3.
Yeah, this is
with
true.
his Mono Black deck again.
This is true.
But was upended by the mountains.
And you must, the mountains. Oh, the mountains.
It was a really good tournament for these decks, obviously. The Mono Black splash green, Mono Black splash white, red, that representation was as high as I've really seen in recent memory. And these Mono Red aggro lists are really well suited to capitalize on that. Tom's list and the standard winning list quite different from one another. One's a Fanatic of Mogus list and Tom's a 2-mana list, but the same principles apply. Get underneath, apply pressure, and win the game before these decks can start exploiting their more powerful resources.
We know what Tom does in Standard, which is Boss Slide. We know what he does in Legacy, which is Infect. I don't know what he does in Modern, but chances are we'll probably be able to find out because we're bringing Modern to the Open Series.
Yeah, this is really exciting stuff for us. We're going to start running these Premier IQs. Related to this is that stores and TOs can also run these as well, so feel free to contact Star City Games if you're interested in running these events. They're $5,000 in cash prizes, open points to all participants. Top 4 receive invitations to the invitationals, and these will be modern format, starting in the Open in Baltimore in the middle of July, and then throughout the entire rest of the year. You see the start time here. We're moving around the elimination rounds a little bit. The entire elimination rounds of the Standard Open will be played Sunday morning. Legacy, 9 a.m. as usual. We're going to have our Open, and then 10 a.m. we're going to have our Modern Premier IQ 5K. You know, this is the most consistent piece of feedback we've heard from the players. We want Modern support at the Open Series. We didn't want to compromise our support for Standard or Legacy, and so we're adding a third tournament to our Sundays. This is really exciting stuff for you Modern enthusiasts.
I know there are a lot of players who enjoy Modern. Of course, some stores have already signed up to start running these. Your stores can do the same as well. So I'm excited to be able to walk the room on my break or after a round is over a little bit early and see if anyone's casting maybe a Karn Liberated on turn 3. Who knows what the boss maybe wants to play in the format, but Modern's a sweet format, and we hear you guys. We know you guys want Modern. We're happy to finally be able to bring it to you.
I have to imagine the boss is Nicodeling.
Yeah, Zoo kind of stinks, though.
I know it kind of stinks. It's sad.
I guess if anyone could find a way to make Zoo good, it's the boss.
Yeah.
Because the boss loves Zoo. Wow, does the
sure.
boss like Zoo.
That's my one match against the boss. He beat me in the Legacy Grand Prix in this building in 2010, I believe.
Yeah?
Burn versus Zoo.
I played against the boss in Oakland. The last round at Grand Prix Oakland in 2010, he was playing Zoo, I was playing Dredge. Fortunately for me, it was a really good matchup. I was able to take him down in 2 games, but it was actually fun to watch him make it really, really competitive.
Yeah. Well, against me, he fetched some basics and then lightning helix to me, and that was it.
Oh, you lose the game.
I did lose the game.
Yeah. Both players going to keep their 7 cards here. Polluted Delta is going to put Williams down to 19. It's underground seat time, and we'll see where we're going to start off here. Discard spell, perhaps a little manipulation, or a creature, either Deathrite Shaman or Delver of Secrets.
But some faster interaction in order here for Avery. Now, he can't get much faster than he had last game. He had a Thoughtseize in his opening hand. But
yeah, it was pretty good.
On the play, at least, you know, things like Thoughtseize and Daze open up as being defenses.
Let's see what Williams does have. There's a Nile Spellbomb. That's pretty good. He also has a Daze, too.
So he's got some tools.
Yeah. And Spellbomb's a pretty good tool. So that's going to come into play right now. Lowry's going to take a draw. It's a copy of Lion's Eye Diamond. It's not hard for Lowry to go from 0 to 10 with this deck, but can he do it through a Spell Bomb?
And a Daze in hand, too. That's going to be a challenge.
Because I imagine if that was a Deathrite Shaman, it would not be tough.
So Lowry doing this before playing a land.
Yeah, doesn't mind running this into a daze potentially. Could see him just pay with a Spirit Guide. Yeah, that's what's going to happen there. So daze is taken care of, and now it's going for an unmask. You see a Ponder, a Brainstorm, a couple lands here, Wasteland, Misty Rainforest, and that Underground Sea. Seems like Brainstorm's the better of the bunch.
Yeah, Avery's hand is a little light on action, so.
There's a Swamp. This is a Thoughtseize. Now his hand is dead on action, just lands.
Yep.
So Lowry getting aggressive with the discard package. Now he's just got to work away through that Spell Bomb if he can find a way. This is why Sneak Attack, I think, is in his sideboard to play in a more normalized game.
I was about to say the exact same thing. This is the perfect spot for Sneak Attack.
He's going to play a Lion's Eye Diamond before passing the turn back. A Ponder was the top deck there from Williams, a pretty important one. If you're Lowry, you're hoping for a shuffle. Well, time to take a look at a couple of cards, a Daze, a Land, and a Hymn to Torak. None of those cards too great in this situation, actually.
Well, the hymn is hard to evaluate, you know. Are they cards that Anthony doesn't mind being in the graveyard, or are they actually two pieces of action that Anthony needs?
Looks like Williams says, I don't like what I see. I'm going to shuffle these away.
And all other things being equal, I like this play because Avery can't hold on forever with this Nile Spellbomb. He needs to find a creature as soon as possible.
So mystery cards coming here for Mr. Avery Williams. We'll see if he finds something he's looking for. Just looking for a creature at this point, I feel.
Yeah.
Put some pressure on.
For sure.
Deathrat Shaman actually would provide that pressure he's looking for because there are instants and sorceries in the graveyard, and of course it's a hoser against Lowry's deck.
Avery giving this a very thorough riffle.
Very Josh Early-esque. That's what I think of.
Anthony, perhaps fearing the deck was not sufficiently randomized. Also giving it a shuffle.
Mystery card. Looks like it may have been a land. Just going to pass the turn back. Will Williams to Lowry. We know Lowry has a Faithless Looting in hand. The big question is what else?
Well, against this Nile Spellbomb, I'm not really sure what Anthony's path to getting something into play is besides using Sneak Attack.
To me, it's like all about, yeah, to me, he's going to flashback on Burial Rites right now. I think he just has to force this through.
And in a spot where Avery doesn't have a black up.
Yeah. Doesn't get the cantrip here, of course. Gets the whole entire graveyard. And now he just has to hope to rebuild appropriately.
It's going to be tough to rebuild on one swamp.
Huge draw there from Williams, picking up a Dark Confidant. Lowry just going to play a Verdant Catacombs, passing the turn back. Top card is an Underground Sea. Now Lowry's got to hope that the opponent doesn't find too much. It was just two lands there. So honestly, not doing too bad.
But it requires so much for Anthony to rebuild from this spot.
Yeah.
He needs an Unburial Rites and a large creature and mana, or a Sneak Attack.
Going to play a Badlands in the face of that Wasteland. So Nile Spellbomb is going to make it difficult again, as Dark Confidant is doing what Dark Confidant does. Going to draw some cards. There's the Spellbomb added to the grip there. Not quite sure. It looks like another Wasteland. So Williams is actually flooding out pretty badly here, but Dark Confidant will try to push through that. Williams is going to use Wasteland to take care of the Badlands. I imagine he'll probably follow this up with a land as well as that Spellbomb.
Yeah, Avery a little late on action here, obviously, but I think that he may be able to win with just a 2-1 blank and no other spells for the rest of the game from this spot.
Top card's a Daze. Williams going to go down to 16. He will take a draw here. It's another land, an Underground Sea. See the hand there, a couple of lands, Wasteland among them. In for 2 comes Bob. Down to 12 goes Lowry. Interestingly enough, Bob Maher Jr. was here this weekend.
We got to catch up a little bit.
Yeah. A little surprised. He's on the committee for Origins.
Yes.
So that's really cool. Didn't get to play any Magic. He thought about it. He said, I'm thinking about playing the Standard Open. I'd have to drop in round 2 to go to a meeting, but I'm thinking about it. It's like, yeah, well, run it out there. He's like, I could skip the meeting, but they probably wouldn't like that.
Yeah, he owns his own distribution company, ACD, and Magic Hall of Famer, Pro Tour champion. And one of the game's really, really nice people also. Some I remember when I was first coming up and kind of nervous, especially around the players that I knew, the pro players, someone who was always very nice to me.
In for 2 comes Lowry yet again. Is Williams to Lowry. So down to 10 goes Anthony. Avery just going to play a land, pass the turn. Lowry will take a draw here. Can he work his way through this Nile Spellbomb? You see there's a Burning Wish in his hand. There's also a Lotus Petal. This is a Dark Ritual. Again, Williams' hand, oddly enough, is not very good.
No, he's flooded out very badly. It's the only thing keeping this game even somewhat in doubt.
Well, there's a hard cast daze on the Dark Ritual. We'll see if this resolves. It looks like it will resolve.
Yeah, Lowry can't really break that fetch land in the face of potential wastelands here. He's only got one swamp in his list. The rest of them are duels.
Top card's Deathrite Shaman. Williams going to go down to 15. And he will take a draw. And it's a Thoughtseize, so if Avery has any interest in seeing what's going on over there, he can certainly find out. Start by attacking for 2, put Lowry down to 8. And now here is the best discard spell. There's a Burning Wish and an Unburial Rites. Neither of those are all that exciting.
Well, I think we still want to take the Burning Wish here.
I'm with you. And the Wish does go to the graveyard. Going to leave Lowry with just an Unburial Rites. Follow that up with a Deathrite Shaman. Still have the mana available to activate that Nile Spellbomb and cantrip off of it. And Williams will just pass the turn back. Lowry going to sacrifice that Verdant Catacombs. Search out a land here in just a moment. I'm going to go with that Badlands.
I'm surprised Avery didn't deploy any of the Wastelands in his hand. He doesn't know exactly what Anthony's mana base is like, but he has 3 Wastelands in hand. If Anthony were to draw running non-basic lands, he could potentially want both those Wastelands in play.
Yeah, I think it's probably better off if he has just one of them in play at this point. Gonna play a Verdant Catacombs with Lowry before passing the turn back over to Williams. Top card coming here for Dark Confidant. This will be another Dark Confidant. Williams is gonna go down to 11. Normal draw coming as well. It's a Force of Will, which actually can't be hard cast in this situation due to the 5 lands in play. Wasteland going to take care of that Badlands, an extension of the hand. Avery Williams is going to win this match over Anthony Lowry. 2-1. Bug Delver moving on over the innovative Burning Reanimator deck.
And you can see both